All right, good evening, fellow TFFL owners. We are back for another TFFL webcast. It is Wednesday, October 12th. We're looking ahead to Week 6 TFFL action now. Real quick, I'm Stick, Managing Editor of TFFL Media, joined as always by Chief, our Commissioner and Skipper of the Sponge Fishermen.
Hey, everybody.
Berto, three-time defending champion Jack's Giant Killers, back above 500.
Hey, Stick.
Hank, our technical director, czar and CEO of the league-leading 4-1 K-Wheels.
Thank you, Stick. Happy to be here.
And a very special happy Yom Kippur welcome to Rich Berkman, fresh off his fast.
Rock and roll, Shana Tova.
When did you break your fast?
About 5:30 p.m. this evening.
We've been commenting you look very well fed.
I feel very good.
Good. The Lizards, welcome. We don't have Adam here tonight, but maybe later in the season. I know, Rich, you like being on here, and we'll try to get you back as often as we can. So
the last time I was here was December 26th, 2015, at about 10 p.m.
Pack bowl preview.
There you go. So Rich, you're going to be representing the guests in our TFFL trivia scoring.
Excellent.
Assuming Hank still has the scores somewhere.
I do have it reasonably together, but I need to go to the archive on a couple things. But yes, we can. We do have some scoring.
So we had no scoring last week. I think all of us got all of Michael Giovenco's questions wrong.
We got 0 for 3. Yes.
You most certainly did. I watched.
I don't think I'm going to stump you as bad, but I am going to emulate Michael in a sense that I've got a theme. His theme last week was 100-point games. My theme, so I was looking, or not looking. I mean, it's pretty clear to see the at this point here, after 5 weeks in the season, we have no teams who are still undefeated. We could have had this conversation last week. In fact, Hank and I went 3-0 to start the season, and that was it. It's kind of a rarity, in fact, that you have to go back to 2008 to only be 3 games into the season with an undefeated team. So 2 questions here, and I'll give you a point for each one you get right. Which franchise has the most seasons in which they stayed undefeated the longest? Our last undefeated team in the most seasons. Which franchise? Second question. I'm looking for the single season record. Which franchise went the longest into any single season without losing?
And we're talking strictly to start the season, right?
Strictly to start the season, not consecutive wins between seasons.
All right, so it's longest to start, and what was the other one? Most times they've been the last one standing?
Yep.
That was some serious research doing that one.
The extra time helped me out here.
Now, are you using CBS Sportsline to analyze and check out what you might pull out of your hat every week?
I'm using my 78-page TFFL archives Word document.
That makes me even happier.
Nice.
I was hoping that was going to be your answer.
All right. Good. And I think that's what Michael Giovenco uses when he dives in and creates questions.
Right on.
Okay, let's. I said last week we weren't going to talk about the trade market, buyers and sellers, and that maybe we could talk about it this week, but I really don't think we're there yet. So we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at the standings and talking about who's out of it yet, because I think other than the AMPAC, who have declared that they're out, every other team in the league is within a game of first place. So it's way too early for that. But nonetheless, let's sort of reset everybody where we are after week 5. Hank, our graphics department, with some standings.
All right. Where we are segments. Here we are, week 6, where we are. Stick, top of the board, 4-1. Looking great. Happy to be here. Way too early to get too excited, but I love being 4-1. Next, guys, look at this logjam here. We have 7 teams that are over 500 in TFL, 5 right here in this 3-2 group. And notice 5 teams in the Northern Conference that are above 500, and 1 that's 0-5. That's the Northern Conference is tough. Tough, I say. These 2 and 3 teams got to get a win right away. The Mongols, Hams, Senators. The fact that the Hams are 2 and 3 is surprising. I mean, they're right there at the top of the power rankings. That is a shocker. They need some wins. It's now. You got to get it right now. And I hate to say that because you're playing me this week, and I have no intention of allowing you to get going.
Your intention doesn't matter.
I understand that. I mean, I've been winning ugly, but I intend to win prettily this week. And the Packers, is it already next year? I mean, wow. Yeah, good. Good to see the Packers struggling.
Now 1-17 in their last 18 games.
Rack them up. Rack up those losses.
All right, so let's start our roundtable discussion with a kind of fun, interesting question. We just looked at the standings. I want to hear from you guys. Aside from your own division, which other TFFL division most excites or intrigues you? Which division do you tend to follow the most, pay attention to the most, and why?
I think
I'll go real quickly and just say none.
Great answer. I like that answer.
All right, I'll say the NOCO West, and I talked about this a little bit last week on the webcast. I root for the SoCo to beat the NOCO teams because you're thinking about winning the conference or having the SoCo teams beat your division foes. So, but I root against the NOCO West, root for the SoCo.
I'm gonna just co-sign that. I root for the SoCo in almost all situations, unless I'm playing one of them. And so, when the NOCO is playing other NOCO teams, maybe it depends on what the standings look like as to who I'm cheering for. But in general, I'm typically cheering for SoCo teams, except for the Sponge this week.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about it as rooting for. I actually pay attention to the other side of the NOCO more than anything else because I want to beat them and I want to win the conference. So they're my conference, and I naturally pay attention to what they're doing maybe a bit more. I'm absolutely rooting for the SoCo, obviously, every time, but I think I pay more attention to you guys on the other side of the NOCO.
Yeah,
I think we're saying the same thing, pretty much.
I think we all pretty much root for our own self-interest, which is to be expected. But if you were going for which division you find particularly interesting or compelling, honestly, none.
Except your own, and who cares?
It really comes down to the personalities of each team, doesn't it, John?
It does, and they're all in my division, I think.
My answer to this question is the NOCO East, and it's not because I'm necessarily rooting against them so much as this has been the division where we've had obviously the last 3 champions in the form of the Giant Killers. But bringing back to my theme of teams going undefeated the longest, this has also just been a really good division. The Killers went 7-0 to start 2015. The K-Wheels went 5-0 to start 2014. K-Wheels went 7-0 to start 2013. The AMPAC have been great for most of their existence.
Is this a hint to the trivia answer?
No, not necessarily.
Well, we know that 7 or 8-0 are not the minimums.
Yeah.
I don't mean to
change my answer now. Crap.
Are we supposed to write down our answers?
It's a strong division, top to bottom, and with some characters in it. Even when Ralph isn't doing well, it's fun to watch his team.
I think there's the most vitriol in the NOCO East,
and that too. Yeah.
I mean, Phil has put a trade embargo, and he's trying to get that trade embargo out to other owners.
No, this has got to be a league-wide mandate. We need to ensure that this team does not win back this year. Somebody else needs to win it. We need to put him down, bury him, kill him. Because if we don't, he's 3-2. How? We need to kill this team.
Yeah, dynasties are good for the TFFL.
It is. I mean, I'll take as much blame as I need to shoulder. I mean, because the
Me
K-Wheels.
too. I was right there last year. I was right there. I was that close.
I know. I mean, there's been many close calls against the Giant Killers, but we have to kill him this year.
Phil is
I'm
treating,
in. I'm on that train.
Phil is treating me like Iran. There's a
Yes,
there's a trade embargo. He's trying to get the other countries to go against me. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And you understand that it should be taken as the sincerest form of flattery, in that we cannot allow this to continue. You have to go down.
No, nobody says these things about the Mongols.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead. Trade with the Mongols all day. Sorry, Terry, I'm badass, but no, seriously.
I noticed that Chief is playing upon the other theme of the week and grabbing pussy.
Yeah. Good eye. Daisy.
Nice. Nice work, Chief.
I just reached out and grabbed it.
Nice.
Didn't even ask.
All right. So I did a lot of research into these, teams staying undefeated the longest, but I did not necessarily do a lot of research into our next topic. But I did ask Chief to do the research. Maybe he did. So free agent IR activity is down in 2016. I think we had a few more signings heading into Week 5 action, but hopefully Chief might have some numbers for us here. Is presumably down year over year. Why is it happening? I presume it'll pick up a little bit here as we get into the bye weeks. But I think there's a good discussion as to why we're not all scrambling to use free agent picks at a time when we passed all these new rules that seem to indicate people were all excited about doing more in free agency.
Yeah, I looked for the numbers, but I don't have last year's, the years before. I kind of overwrote the document. Anecdotally, it certainly seems that way. Just having run the process now for the third year, it seems like instead of getting 8 or 9 emails every week, there's about 3 or 4. And we talked about this maybe a little bit last week after the camera stopped rolling, that, speaking personally, there are times when I need help. I need to make a move, and I look to see who's available, and there is literally nobody there who I'm willing to cash in a guy in my roster for. Yeah. I think you and Hank theorized that maybe we're just better at drafting now, and certainly that's possible. I think maybe there's fewer guys valuable just in the overall player pool. Maybe the points have gotten to fewer hands, so to speak. I really don't know, but it's definitely, and now, now the bye weeks are going to start in earnest, and maybe we'll see a little more now, and injuries will continue. I made 2 moves last week just to get injury coverage. But yeah, I other than the fact that maybe we're better at doing this, or the NFL's points is, narrower distributed, I really don't have much of an explanation for it.
I have 2 theories. I think one is the what we talked about a little bit last time is the whole backup running backs. I think there's more backup running backs drafted in the last 2 years than there ever have been. I mean, seemingly every time I look up, I'm like, the not only the backup, but maybe the third running back, they've already been drafted.
They'll have passing backs now.
Yeah, these guys are all drafted. And so that's one thing. And then maybe there's more rookie wide receivers that are drafted over the last 2 or 3 years than were drafted in years past as well. Even late guys are getting picked that maybe they would be out there and then they would flash in the beginning of the season, they get picked up, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think we said that last time too. I'll co-sign that. I think we all kind of look at this more. Maybe there's better information, easier information together, so that a lot of these guys, we know more about the teams and who might get a shot to play. But I just think we're all really freaking smart, and that just comes down to our savvy.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add. I think you guys you exhausted that one. There's not a lot I would disagree with. And the only thing I guess I can add is that the reason a lot of us are smarter, and because it's so sparse out there, is because of the access to the information we can get today. Remember back in the day when we used to do this stuff by hand and read the paper and, wait for ESPN to be on to get some news. You were taking, flip of the coin shots on guys that you really didn't have a lot of information on. Today we have a wealth more of information that allows us to make those decisions better. And to Berto's point, I think is the one that really hits the spot is it's a different game. You got 3 running backs doing 3 different jobs. One's your blocking back like a tight end blocker. One's your real running back, your pounder. You have a scat back, and you have a guy you can toss the ball to. If you got a gold gem that does all of that, like Elliott eventually will, or AP was, then great.
AP is when he gets healthy again.
Been waiting 2 years. 2 years now. He's missed the Pac Bowl. He's missed some important games for me.
I understand. I do. I understand.
Yeah, I think there are probably more players out there. Berto might have suggested fewer players. With all the running back committees, with all the multi-receiver stats, I think there's plenty of players out there. But I think, collectively we're smarter. We're no longer drafting 3 kickers as we did early on in some cases.
You should keep a kicker.
Some people have kept a kicker. But yeah, we've got a heck of a lot more information out there. Here's a quick lightning round question. I know we've asked this before. Rich, you're a perfect guest to weigh in on this. How many of you pay beyond ESPN Insider, which I think most of us might pay for? Do you pay for any fantasy specific sites?
For the draft, yes. Not a season long thing.
Rich?
Same as Berto. I downloaded an app for my iPad that allowed me to put everybody in, get information on them fast, just for the draft. And I don't use anything during the year.
Me either. I may have had an app for the draft, but I don't even think I had that. No.
Chief?
No.
Yeah, I had a $5 app for the draft as well. Okay. Big topic this week. This came up in Chiefs Commissioner's report. I think somebody mentioned it earlier tonight on the webcast, talking about the Hams, the issue of teams playing above or below their record. Chief, mentioned the Impact playing well above their 0-5 record, maybe a bit unlucky, if you will. The Giant Killers playing, scoring way below their 3-2 record. The Hams, a better team, presumably, than their 2-3 record. I don't want to really try to get too much into the old luck versus skill argument. But let's discuss, is Berto doing something? Is he better at managing his team than Ralph is? Has Berto made some specific moves, some trades, some free agent moves, week to week, such that he may be winning, but only winning by a few points, not having these big blow-up weeks, but managing his team from week to week and getting the wins necessary? Or is he just lucky?
Well,
nice job getting to 3-2, Berto, one way or the other.
yeah. So I'm looking at these stats right now, and the Packers have had the hardest schedule difficulty in the league. The Hams 3rd, the Giant Killers 8th. Hams 3 and Packers have more points out of their running backs than anybody in the league. Hams also 3rd there, coincidentally. So I think there really is something to the fact that they have had unfortunate matchups in several of their weeks. I don't think either one of them has really done anything managing their team this year since the beginning of the season. There's been a couple of minor free agency moves, but I don't think anything major there. Certainly in recent years, Berto's shown to be very adept at shifting on the fly and building his team, continuously from week 1 through whenever the trade deadline is. But as pertains to the Impact there, you shift around the matchups a little bit, and they're 4-1. So I mean, it's you'd like to think that during the course of the season that will even it out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I believe the Hams one year were 2nd in total points and had the 3rd pick in the draft. So these things happen.
I'll just say that I think, and I don't remember the general tone, like many things, but I think that after the draft we had Ralph having Ezekiel Elliott, but then after that I felt like he did not have a great draft, and we were kind of commenting that he's looking to build, and we were looking at the same cast of characters of Willie Snead and Marcus Wheaton as earlier picks than probably should have been. Berto, look, as for as much crap as I'll give Berto, and I will as much as possible, he's shown that he's got some touch to this, and that he's capable of finding the guys that are gonna perform over a stretch. With Ryan Fitzpatrick one year leading his team, and Andy Dalton becoming a much better fantasy weapon than real weapon. So, I don't want to bash Ralph too hard, although I'd like to, but Berto probably deserves some credit here. I think he's probably done a pretty good job at using the tools available at his disposal.
Let me just do this. As far as transactions, okay, Packers had one IR for Keenan Allen, signed Tyrell Williams. I think most people who put in a claim that week were after Tyrell Williams, so that was probably a pretty good move. Giant Killers IR'd Arian Foster next week, signed Matt Asiata. Again, very popular pick, very defensible pick. And then I think we're down to last week, and Packers released the defense to sign Kyle Rudolph. Giant Killers released Brandon LaFell to sign Terrence Williams. So, yeah, there's not really anything there that you would say this season anyway. There's been a difference in season management.
I'll just say this. I think we all kind of agreed Ralph did not have a good 2015 draft with all of his early picks. But I even said it on a couple webcasts ago. I thought Ralph had a great draft this year. Even Ezekiel Elliott, but notwithstanding. But you still had guys like Willie Snead. He had some good picks.
John Brown, Charles Sims, Willie Snead, Jerick McKinnon,
good pick.
Dalton takes up the first 4 rounds.
So I think his draft last year, and he had guys like Kevin White and Josh Gordon has been a bust. He dropped Jimmy Graham. So, but I made plenty of mistakes, and I said it on the other webcast. I could have had Derek Carr on my team right now. I would have been scoring more points. Eli has been terrible. I waited too long at a quarterback. I traded up, but I didn't trade up enough. I didn't go the next step to get the guy that I wanted. I made plenty of mistakes, I think, going into the draft and some of the trades I made this year. I think luck comes and goes. I had bad luck last year, I think. I had a ton of injuries, and I got there, and I made a couple good pickups and a couple of good trades, but my team was decimated with injuries last year.
You did a great job.
Yeah. You're not allowed to say you had bad luck. You won the freaking pack.
So
bad luck.
No, but I mean,
Berto earned that pack.
I wanted to give him credit. He did.
But my point is, luck is going to come and go, and I'm going to lose my fair share of games. But what I am happy about is I honestly think that my team is going to score more points going forward. So I think that does bode well for me. That I'm 3-2, and maybe I shouldn't be, but that's the way things break sometimes.
Eric Decker done for the season?
Eric Decker is done for the season, yes. And an old Yiddish saying, if my grandmother had balls, she'd be my grandfather. Do you know that, Rich?
Okay. We have a strict 1 Jew per webcast here.
It sounds better in Yiddish.
Yeah, that's a good one. By looks only, really.
So,
anyhow, I think both coaches are very good coaches. I think that luck always plays a little bit into the TFFL, whether it's the schedule that you get, the fact that you could score 100 points and beat everyone else in the league, but lose that week. I mean, that happens to all of us. So luck is of the draw on the schedule piece, as well as how you bet on some talent that we get. I think Berto absolutely makes some great moves, and maybe is a bit what I think I admire about the way Berto plays is that he makes a lot more moves and is willing to make those moves to get what he needs to advance his team on a short-term basis. And I this isn't to take anything away, but I don't think you put as much value in the long term as what you're trying to do right now. And I think you take advantage of that better than others in the league. What really amazed me is like Phil held that up at the beginning and said 0-5, 0-5 at the bottom. I can't believe we're 5 weeks in. It's going too fast. I wanted to slow down.
Yeah. So.
It's 5 weeks in now. When it gets, I just wanted to share that observation. I couldn't believe how fast we got to 5 weeks. But just insofar as other teams, and I think I'm the best coach. Look what the bot says. I make the best in coach decisions out there. 2 weeks in a row. It says all season long I've been making the best moves, and I really draft better than all of you. So I do feel that there are some in the league that do much better than others when it comes to that in general.
Hey, are you saying my Drew Barrymore True Character Awards don't mean anything? Am I not the?
I got one of the Irish Scotch whiskeys this year too.
Is everybody getting these things?
Going back to the question, I think we are underperforming right now. I think we could be easily 4-1 instead of 3-2.
Well, I mentioned this real briefly before we came on the air, but yeah, our division, all 3 teams above 500, really strong right now. Somebody's not going to make the playoffs. Very well could be the Aliens. Could be. I mean, or we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so let me answer my own question here as a way of now segueing into another question. The one big distinction I can draw right now between the AMPAC and the Killers is the wide receiver position. And you mentioned, Chief, that the AMPAC are number 1 in running back scoring. The Hams are number 3 in running back scoring. So the next topic I want to get to is sort of the changing nature, the greater importance of wide receivers these days. And back to answering my previous question, the AMPACs, their receivers have been decimated. They, in addition to Josh Gordon and Kevin White blowing up, they didn't keep Jimmy Graham. You look at the Giant Killers by comparison, they've got Rob Gronkowski, who, even though he's not doing much this year, has been the type of guy who can play running back or receiver for many years now. Really gives Berto all the flexibility in the world. Went out and traded for Eric Decker. Looking at your receivers this year now, you drafted Alan Hearns. I know you're not thrilled with him. Doug Baldwin, you traded for. Alan Hearns, Doug Baldwin, and Brandon Marshall is not a bad trio to throw out there.
Nope.
So again, you've managed that position well. Ralph, for whatever reasons, maybe not really his fault, but maybe just all bad luck, has a terrible wide receiver core right now. And I think probably laments giving up Jimmy Graham and trading for Kobe Fleming, which would help them out there a great deal. So getting to our new topic, last week, Michael Giovanco uttered the sentiment that I think a lot of us have probably said at one point or another, that you can always go find decent receivers to get by with. And so my questions to you guys are, is that still true? Even if it is, I think the more important question is getting by, as Ralph or Michael might be doing at receiver right now, good enough these days, given that a lot of other franchises have some real difference makers at receiver, thanks to the NFL's pass-happy offenses. How much more are you focusing on building your receiving core these days than you used to, even just a few years ago?
Let's start with our special guest. I feel like we've been shorting him some airtime.
So, thank you, John.
Rich is napping.
He just woke him up.
I'm listening. I'm just listening. I think that after it is partial food coma, but I think that I recognized this a few years ago and put and changed my emphasis. It's great and it's wonderful if you can have an every down back on your team, but the game has changed significantly, rules wise, the pass first wise, and I've had no trouble rotating in tight ends and fill in running backs and backup running backs because there's very few teams out there that I'm playing against that have an every down back. Ralph now is lucky to have a few of those. He's going to get another one next year. But I would rather have 3 strong receivers in today's league than have 3 strong running backs in today's league. Because I think, and this is why I felt great about trading for Greg Olsen, because he could be one of those running backs. And especially, in pairing him up with Cam, that worked out really well for me. I wasn't expecting AP to go down the way he does, but I'm going to survive. I'd rather make a trade. I think I was very upfront about that. And I am one of those people that you look at right now, and it's not that I'm devaluing the running back completely, but I think it's more important today to have a stronger quarterback, 3 solid receivers, and then if you could fill in that running back position with the tight end, the running back game is spread so much among so many running backs that if you get one that's going to get 13 carries in a game, you're probably playing against the same thing in most weeks. So if you just have one, great. There's so few of them, it's not worth the effort. I'd rather spend that extra effort on getting receivers that are going to be 1,400 yards and 8 to 12 touchdowns.
Yeah, well said. And just to complete the narrative, the impact is 12th in quarterback points and 12th in wide receiver points. So take that for what it's worth. I like this question, Stick, because there's really 2 parts. Yes, you can always find a contributing wide receiver. I have probably 2 dozen on my scout team that I can plug in there and get 3 and 4 points. Maybe get a touchdown if I'm lucky. But your second part of that question, at least as it was phrased in our agenda, is it enough to have a wide receiver who can contribute? And you're right, it's not. I don't think you can afford to get receivers that you're gonna expect 3 and 4 points. For me, I want, and I've had a hard time getting it, but I want a wide receiver on my team who's a threat to get 100 yards every single game. I want 6 points off my receivers minimum. Cooper didn't get there till this week, and you can't control touchdowns. But if you get a usage of a good receiver who's a 100-yard threat every week, I think you'll do okay. Because yes, while is much easier to find a contributing wide receiver than a contributing running back, you can probably get away a lot easier with a 3-point running back in today's TFFL than a 3-point performance by a wide receiver and still win the game.
See, the challenge.
You can just look at the scores and look at the points and verify that.
And the challenge with playing I can always fill in with another wide receiver is that you're then forced to play the matchup game more often, which is harder to do than having the raw talent of trying to have 3 receivers in the top 20 that are going to produce at the end of the season 12 to 1,400 yards and 8 to 12 touchdowns. I mean, remember, Phil, when we were looking at the draft at those lists, and we were seeing how many more receivers there were available that could do that versus running backs?
Well, you guys have all touched on several of the key points. Is the game's changed. There are fewer running backs who are getting the opportunities to be the bell cow. There's more receivers who are actively scoring a lot of points, and look, I'm really lucky to have Julio Jones, and Berkman's got Beckham and T.Y. Hilton and Mike Evans, which is a really strong basis to build from. There's more guys that you can name at receiver. I think Berkman's list, there was like 20, 25 players that were double-digit touchdowns versus running backs that were like 8. And it's different in terms of the volume of receivers who are scoring big points versus the number of running backs who do the same.
I guess I don't disagree with the comments about this. I maybe a little bit, but I'm evolving a little bit, but maybe not evolving as fast on this as some others.
Well, I'm with you, Bert.
I've won 3 Pac Bowls, but I'm still evolving.
No, because you know why? Because if you have those running backs, and I'm envious of what the Packers have right now. I mean,
I think we all are.
They're going to get a good draft pick, and that's going to be a fearsome running back core. And the reason why I still think that is such a huge advantage is the fact that if you don't have a running back, it is impossible to find one to put in your lineup off of a waiver or to trade for one. Michael talked about the hoarding of mediocre running backs. It's the hoarding of all running backs, right? So if you have an injury, if you're short running backs, if your running backs are in rough shape, it's very hard to get one, and you got to pay up to get one. And maybe that's changing a little bit too. But and even the thing about Gronk, I mean, I prefer to have Gronk over the years be, my number one or number two wide receiver and be able to have the three running backs. Because the other thing too is you're on the goal line, you're on the 1 yard line. There's a pass interference in the end zone. You're on the 1 yard line. You get the guy who's gonna be the goal line back and getting into the end zone. And that's so important in our league versus other leagues. So I'm still of the opinion that the running back is still kind of like the equivalent of having really good starting pitching in baseball. To me, it's still the most important thing.
And you're right, because good running back, even a average to good running back, you might get 15 touches a game, right? Receivers just don't get that. Even the best ones, maybe Julio Jones once in a while will get 15 targets. Usually they do something like 9 targets, 7 catches for whatever. So you're right. If you can get a chance to get a running back who is a legit starter, that is your ace pitcher. Because they handle the ball, with the exception of the quarterback, more than anybody else.
Yeah, the problem with it goes back to what Phil just said. There's fewer of those, right?
Well, no doubt.
That's true.
So and what you guys are talking about there is, I don't care if you get 35 touches to the ball. If your average touch is yielding you 2.8 yards, it doesn't make a difference. I'd rather have the receiver that's getting 5 touches but is getting 20 yards on each of those touches. Right?
It does go to that the opportunity and how many carries and opportunities you guys get. But having to argue the other side just quickly, having the guys who do get the touches at running back is a huge advantage, because a lot of the teams you're playing against don't. And when you get into the bye weeks and you don't have that running back to put in there, pulling somebody is tough. You're going to be pulling Wendell Smallwood, who 1 week is great and gets 17 carries for 95 yards, and the next week gets 0 carries for nothing. Whereas receivers, there's guys you can plug in that'll get 2 or 3 catches, and maybe one of them's in the red zone, and they might score for you. It's harder to get those running backs who have any opportunity.
Yep.
So here's a real world thing right here. I got a problem right now starting either Chris Ivory or Martellus Bennett as my number 3 running back. Rapid fire. What do you think?
Martellus Bennett coming off 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's without knowing the matchups off the top of my head. That's the easy answer. Yeah, he's getting the targets in the red zone right now.
Bennett. Wait, Jacksonville's playing Chicago.
Jacksonville's playing Chicago. Patriots playing Cincinnati.
I'll go Ivory.
I get Ivory there now, but I've gone back and forth on it a couple times.
Make the wrong choice, please. Whoever's going to score more points, pick the other guy.
Bennett just had his 3 touchdown game. They're going to be feeding Gronkowski this game. Rapid or somebody. Hopefully.
Yeah, I like Ivory as well.
Yeah, go with Ivory. Absolutely, go with Ivory.
You know what? Just one other thing on this. And we've kind of touched on this, but it's the scarcity, right, of resources. And as this resource gets more scarce, to me, in a way, it even becomes more important. But I will say this: years ago, you could look at the top, 10 or 12 running backs and say, okay, these guys, we kind of know what these guys are going to do. Now it's almost like you look at the top 10 and you didn't have a clue about the receivers. They were all over the place. Now you look at guys like Julio Jones and AJ Green and these guys and Allen Robinson, you kind of say, okay, I kind of know what these guys are going to do. So I think the top tier of receivers is much clearer, and they're more consistent than the top tier of running backs. But after you get past that top tier of receivers, I think it gets very murky.
Antonio Brown was the consensus top pick in fantasy drafts this year. I don't think that has ever happened before. A non-running back be the consensus top pick.
Yep.
I actually think that list is a little longer, Berto, for the wide receivers. I think that you could feel pretty good if you have a receiver in the top 20. After
Great
that,
question, Stick.
after the top 20 is when it really falls off the ladder, becomes a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So this is obviously a tricky question to answer. Let me try to do this real quick without babbling too much. But if you ask me, we've talked about this before. I think having a quarterback at the top of your lineup is the most important piece, a real stud quarterback. Because that guy can go get you 20, 30 points every week, unlike any other position. Obviously, if you're sitting at number 1 overall in our draft, you're taking Ezekiel Elliott. You're taking, even in my case, a couple of years ago, Carlos Hyde. That chance to get a guy who is going to get 25 carries a week and a chance for a touchdown or 2 every week. There are very few of those guys left, fewer every year it seems, and you've got to get those guys when you get the chance. That said, in answer to my original question, I think receivers have taken on a greater importance. And I think what you have to be careful of is not so much if you're number 1 or number 2 overall taking a running back, but if you're number 5, 6, 8, 10, trying too hard to go find those stud running backs, when your better solution is to say, yeah, let me go invest in getting some great receivers and building a great receiving core that those other teams drafting running backs can't. And I'll go get by with some other receivers or some other running backs later in the draft. Chief, you're obviously the great example of a franchise that over the years has, in part because of need, but I think also in part because of strategy, has said you're not going to reach for a running back over a strong, high upside receiver sitting there. So yeah. Anyway, moral of the story is you can build a strong receiving core and offset teams that have strong running back cores. But that's
quick stat.
Yep.
Quick stat. I just looked at right now in the league. There are 18 running backs who have accumulated 30 fantasy points, and there are 21 wide receivers who have done the same. So it's pretty much a toss-up.
Okay. We'll keep looking at this, I think, as the season goes on.
All right.
Chief, let's now turn our attention a little bit toward week 6. I know the schedule is on the website, but for the sake of those who use the TFFL webcast as their TFFL news source, let's give them the schedule and maybe a game of the week we can talk about.
All right, that's fine. Writing down the schedule, and this is the time of the year we have the NoCo West against the SoCo East, and the NoCo East, the SoCo West. We have the Boba Fett's at the Beavers. We have the Aliens at the Mongols. The Senators and the Jacks Giant Killers. It's always a fun game for me personally. There's always traditionally a lot of smack talk involved with those two guys, especially when they were both in Hoboken. Good old drinking and swinging useless trades late night.
Yeah.
You never knew it was going to happen. All right. The Sponge are at K-Wheels. I think the Sponge is about to go 2-0 through that division. And the Lizards are the Dirt Devils. But people might mock me here, but for game of the week, as I mentioned, I'm going to choose, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm actually going to choose the Bro Bowl here. Hasn't been relevant in a long time. It really still isn't to the standings. And the Hams right now are predicted to double up on the Packers 16-34.
I just saw that 68-34.
But you know what? This might be a good thing to watch. Are these teams both seriously underperforming their records? If so, what's going to happen? If the Packers are only predicted for 34, and take what the point guru says that what you think it's worth, which for me is very little, then maybe they aren't really underperforming and they really are that bad. But I think something's got to give here. One of these teams who are, I think everybody would agree, they're at least a little bit better than the record. At least one game better than the record, if not two. Let's see which one actually gets back on track and which one's going to fall even further behind the record or have the record further behind performance.
if the Hams lose to the APAC this week, they really might be cursed this season because they're a good team, and if they fall to 2-4, that's tough. I think the Battle of Hoboken is very important as well. The Senators need to win that game, and we all want the Giant Killers to lose. Let us not forget this. The Giant Killers must lose.
I am all about the Giant Killers this week.
Come on, Sens. I'm with you, Kramer. Let's do it.
I think I'm rooting for the Beavers this week, from what I heard, and we got to take down the Devils. All right.
Hey,
I think the Bro Bowl is very good, regardless of what their records are. I like seeing the Geos play, so that's a fun one.
Berto, do you and Kramer get together for this game?
Will we this year? No. Have we in the past? Probably not in the last couple of years, but years past, I think we did at some sports bar somewhere.
You and Kramer are growing apart.
Well, we're not both in Hoboken now, so distance-wise, yes.
Out of sight, out of mind.
He's in fancy Scotch planes.
Yes, very fancy.
All right, let's get the trivia answer out to everybody there at home and on the panel. Pull out your scribbled down answers.
Which one are we doing first?
Anything. I gotta scribble something.
I got two.
You want to get points, Rich?
All right, hang on. I gotta find something to write
I
on.
think Hank and I are even here.
All right, so the first question is which franchise the most times was the last team standing, the last team remaining undefeated? What do we got here? The Killers, the Devils. What do you got there, Chief?
I got the Devils. After the Mongols.
The first one was, what was the first question?
First question is which franchise has been our last team standing the most seasons?
So I have
Okay.
the Devils.
Those of you who said the Devils are correct. 5.
Yes.
I did well for the guests. Don't forget.
Nice work,
Good represent.
And actually,
All right.
that I was a little disappointed in those of you who didn't, or is this only Berto who didn't get that one right? The Devils are known for getting out and crushing their division opponents and starting.
Was Burrow the one who guessed himself?
Yes.
So Berto got that wrong.
Huh.
All right. For your second point tonight, which franchise
I feel good about this one.
has the best single season record for going the longest into the season undefeated?
Lizards.
Ampac.
Ampac.
Well, it could be the Giant Killers, I guess.
Okay, somebody may accuse me of throwing a trick question your way, but the answer is, Rich, who did you guess?
The Lizards.
It is the Lizards.
I got it.
2 points for the guests.
I think I correctly framed the question as who went the longest undefeated.
Yes.
The Lizards went 11-0-1, or 10-0-1, going 11 games undefeated in 2009. But they did have the tie in there.
That's right. That's good.
Give me a point for that one, Phil.
You got it. So Hank, Chief, and Berto each get 1, and Berkman gets 2 for the guests, taking away a win.
Woohoo!
Well done.
Good work.
So we tend to think of the Devils as this franchise that dominated long ago. They were the last team standing 3 straight years: 2010, 2011, and 2012.
I remember.
So quick update on the trivia results through. I have 3 weeks of scoring here, and I probably need to go back and do a few more. But as far as my records show, that was Berto's first point that he's received. Hank has 2. I have 2 points. Chief has got. No, sorry. The guest then is next at 3, and because of Chief's outstanding performance of the first week, he got 3 out of a possible 4 points, plus the one tonight. So he is leading with 4 points in trivia.
All right.
Excellent work.
Actually, I think I got another one too when you go back and get that missing week.
I gotta go
I
back.
have never done this well before.
I'm only back to the 28th, so I got to go back before that.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got some points this week after being collectively shut out by Michael.
Good questions.
All right.
Very good questions.
So let's start to wrap up. Chief,
Yep.
Commissioner rants and reminders. Beer
But
shop.
I have alternate forums for my rants these days. I tend to not save them for the webcast. Iannuzzi would want to get on there. He wanted to rant about the Chargers field goal operations. I don't know how long that rant would take. But how about that? Watching that game, huh?
There were some amazing games.
You know, they're about to go up by 1. Now I'm thinking, okay, I got about 3 minutes left for Amani Cooper to get at least 2 points out of that next drive. If he makes it. And it wasn't a gimme field goal. There's a chance he could have missed it anyway. But I was so glad he didn't have to take it. So no rants. We have for Thursday night anyway, a pretty good game. Maybe we had Denver and San Diego. If the Chargers defense was at all healthy, that might be a good game. But they're doing some serious signing guys off the street and starring them at cornerback things right now. So we'll see. But if you have any Broncos and Chargers you want to start, make sure they're locked in your lineup. That's all I have. Good luck to everybody. Thanks, to Richie for making it on very short notice to join us today. It's always really a pleasure having you on. You bring a lot to the webcast.
Agreed. Good work.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure joining you.
Just 2 quick questions to wrap up. Chief, how are people doing following the new free agent rules? Anybody giving you headaches?
No, it's been very smooth.
Good.
Rich, as with most things, it comes out of communication.
Rich, have people paid up for the draft weekend?
Thank you, Stick, for sending your PayPal earlier this week. I appreciate that. I can only tell you for the people who owe me directly, is anyone on this call still due money would be the question. I put out a number of reminders. My suggestion is maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know for sure because nobody's reported back to me to say, hey, so-and-so didn't pay me. I imagine they're all taking care of it between themselves. But if there is an issue, by all means, feel free to let me know. I will never do this treasury piece again. Nick, you better come back. But all in all, I'm hoping everyone has. I've sent 3 reminders. At this point, everyone should at least make an arrangement, to let the other person know when you'll get them the money if you haven't yet.
Part of my reason for asking was to say thank you for tallying all that up in Nick's absence. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Can we fine the treasurer for not doing his treasurer duties?
You know what?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we can, but that truly is insult to injury because I know how bad he feels that he couldn't be.
Yeah. I think Nick would be happy to contribute a fun fine because he should be doing the logs and the books. He's missing this opportunity.
Exactly. I don't think not being there was really an excuse to let go the treasurer duties there.
Yeah.
What better way to take part in the weekend than to tabulate the bills? It would have been like he was there. Between that and his T-shirt, which I don't know whether it was received, but I think he has so far, it would have been like he was there.
It would have been. Did he get his T-shirt?
Do you remember the T-shirt? I wonder if that T-shirt ever got to Nick.
Oh.
Didn't we mail it?
Well,
I gotta believe it has.
Ralph was responsible. Ralph, did he get it? Nick, do you have it?
I thought he said he got it. Wasn't he on the webcast and he said?
Yeah, I thought he said he got it.
No, he said he had not got it yet. I thought.
Oh, all right.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this.
He had been warned about it.
Or is that T-shirt like
lurking
in the back of Ralph's car for Ashley to discover at some point?
Maybe.
Ralph Jr.'s wearing it around.
And so we'll see what kind of damage Hurricane Matthew did to the South Carolina, North Carolina coast.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a feeling there's a lot fewer houses available than there were a week ago.
Listen, that house we had is going to be beachfront now, so.
That's right.
I mean, they took the worst beating of anybody down there. So
is that house really swamped?
I have no idea.
One of the pier that you could see from the beach from our house last year is gone. It's just been destroyed.
Yeah, that got demolished.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll check it out. They usually get that stuff fixed up there pretty fast. But,
Best insurance will pay anyway.
We'll be back.
there will be early enough identification to see if there's if that area is fine. But again, I'm wide open to other suggestions. Just beat out what we normally do.
But at the same time, Rich, I have understood your various comments through the last month that you will take the lead in trying to get us a place early on Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On the beach, baby.
And
Rich,
I don't think we're there yet.
Help you too, Rich.
What's
I'm
that?
sorry, what was that, Mike?
I can definitely help too, Rich, with some of the other ones we had.
And yeah, and I think sometime within the next month, we'll start.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to nail it before New Year. That would be ideal.
Yeah, I agree. And I think maybe before Thanksgiving, we'll start talking about it.
Perfect.
All right, before we creep up on an hour, I don't think we're quite there yet, but let's wrap up. Good luck to everybody on the panel, everybody watching at home in week 6. I think we're soon going to be getting to the point where people will start hitting the panic button a little bit. Teams that are winning are going to start trying to make some trade offers. As Rich said, hard to believe we're 5 weeks into this already. This time next week, it'll sort of be the halfway point of the season already. So best of luck this week. Looking forward to seeing you guys again a week from today. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Let me know if you have running backs to trade. I'm in the market. I go six
at all. It's about wide receivers now, Bert.
Right. It's all about wide receivers.
I'm 6 deep in wide receiver.
All right.